Hello, and once again, welcome to Strive Defense Dialogue. I'm your host, Brigadier Rakesh Bhatia. Today, once again, we have a very special guest, our own Vice President of Strive, Maj Gen Ajay Chaturvedi, with us. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, today we would like to uh, focus on China.
Okay.
Each country has vulnerabilities, and the adversaries are always looking to draw leverages from those vulnerabilities. Whereas a country itself tries to cover up the vulnerabilities as much as possible, but there are certain issues which it just cannot overcome. Similarly, China also has lots of vulnerabilities, starting from the geographical constraints, which the God has made it the way it is. There are also climate challenges which this country is facing. Then there are internal challenges, and of course, the diplomatic isolation. So, diplomatic isolation on one stage is seems to be an isolated thing, not connected to the three. But, sir, I think as we progress, we'll realize that the diplomatic pressures on a countries are also dictated by the three factors that we have mentioned, sir. Sir, we start with today's session, and my first question to you is, sir, how is geography dictating China's behavior, sir?
Uh, very nice question. Actually, one must understand the geography of China. China, if you start from north, it is the northern neighbor is uh, Russia, and in between there is the outer Mongolia and inner Mongolia is part of it, where only in 1947 which became part of China. Now, when we go to the east, it is initially East China Sea, which separates it from Japan, where it has got issues with Japan. Then you further come down to South China Sea, where it has issues with Taiwan and other countries. Where, as a little later, I'll say kind of address them. Now, if you further come up, that is southern side, southeastern side, and a little bit on southwestern side, it is Himalayan range, which is dividing, China, say Chinese occupied Tibet with the India, and also Ladakh, where it is there, say Aksai Chin. When you go towards west, it's a Gobi Desert, and also the second thing which is important in this case is the Taklamakan Desert, uh, which is in normal terminology, it is in that language is called Desert of Death, Taklamakan,
Irrevocable death, sir. They call it
irrevocable,
irrevocable death, sir.
irrevocable death, as you very rightly said. Now, China's problem, this is external, and if you notice, with each of them, they have got certain problems, which we will address a little later. Within internally, there is a divide between north and south. North and south, because the northern portion is arid and southern portion has got plenty of water. Now they need, and their agricultural lands are in north, so they have to say try to take the water there. So the water shortage in north is causing problem. Most of the development is along coastal area. uh, Almost 18% of population is also located there. So, in case if sea level rises, this will have a problem. So now, when we start seeing further to it, now when we say the terrain of Taklabakan and Gobi is so difficult, and so Xinjiang, which they captured in 1876 by King during the King dynasty's time. Now, it has got a sizable population of local ethnic called Uyghurs who converted to Islam at some point in time. So, 50% population is Uyghur. Now, one of the most important part in this case is that Uyghur have got a major, China is causing human rights violation and not practicing of religion and all those things which are there. We are not here to, but then it has got a problem. Xinjiang is a very major issue with China. Now, in this case, what has happened? There's a jihadi organization which has come up, that is East Turkestan Islamic Movement. Because earlier the name was East Turkestan. Only when, in October 1949, when communists came, they captured it again. So therefore, this is a problem area for China. Now, when we come to Himalayan range, now, Tibet is a well-established plateau, but Himalayas they are rising and they have got their own issues. But far more important is that Tibet, China captured in 1959. A 17-point program agreement, which was in 1951, was signed. And based on that, Tibet was forced to sign that under duress. In 1959, they occupied it, and Dalai Lama came back. There is an issue of suzerainty, oblique sovereignty of Tibet, which is a legacy issue. But the fact of the matter is that today Tibet is restive. And despite major population increase of Han, that's about say 12.2% of population is Han, and yet they have not been able to find solutions to the Tibet. But they can't leave Tibet also, because Tibet is for two reasons. One is it is water tower of Asia. Their own two rivers, that is Yangtze and Hange, originate from Tibet. Then, as far as other side is concerned, if you say from west to east, it is first is Indus, Satluj. Going into Nepal, it is Arun and Karnali, major rivers I am talking of, river systems, and then further up Brahmaputra. Now, so this water, and further going up to Salween and Irrawaddy and Mekong, all three are also originating from there. 46,000 glaciers are there. So the water is, so they cannot leave. Second is it has got a major source of minerals, starting with gold and far more important, titanium, which is required for major issues. So borax is quite substantial. So that is another thing, which is mineral wealth is very important to Tibet. So they cannot leave Tibet. Now coming down to east. Now if you notice in the map, as you can see here, there's a bulge and then there's a Taiwan, and through that is the South China Sea. South China Sea, the China is hemmed in. They do not have the vast expense of water as say India has got in neighborhood. So therefore, that is one of the problem. And in this, they have got in South China Sea, they have got a problem of with Taiwan itself. Second is the problem is of Spratly Island, where the number of countries which are involved, say Malaysia, Philippines, Brunei, so all these countries, Vietnam, and because of oil wealth. Now you go to east. So East China Sea, that UNCLOS has divided the boundary between China and Japan. But there's a Shunggya, I hope my pronunciation is correct. There's a Shunggya gas field which is there, which is though in Chinese water, but Japan feels that they may ingress into their area. Also, Senkaku Island, they call it Diao Islands. So there is a issue with them. So these two things are very, very important, and both the gases, and they are making a lot of things. So that's why they have come with 9-dash line and all those things, which are there for their security and safety. Now, in this, one more important thing is restive Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong till 97 was a British protectorate, and 97 under an agreement it became a part of China with under the provision of one country, two systems. They said that for 50 years, Hong Kong will continue to have the democratic setup which they have. But unfortunately, in 2 decades itself, China has reneged on their promise. And as a date, there is a lot of disturbances which are happening in Hong Kong. And they feel betrayed. Now, coming to North. Now, there are 2 agreements. One was 1995 and second was 2003 when they settled the boundary with Russia. Usuri River, Amur River, Arden River, and there are some islands. So they 2003 they settled. But suddenly, last 2 3 years, they started claiming that Vladivostok is part of them.
Correct.
So Russian relationship as on date is only transactional. Russia has no other option, and so has China. So which we see later that when we talk of diplomacy. So that is a now as far as Inner Mongolia is concerned, it was part of Mongolia, but in 1947, Inner Mongolia became part of China, and it is an autonomous region which has got a sizable, say, Han population, which is majority now. They, unlike us, when we 370 and all those things nonsense we had, they have migration. They have a lot have taken place. So now Han are in majority, and greatest minority is Mongols, and some Hui Muslims are also there, 0.91%. So that is what, as far as geography is concerned. And as you can see, that it has got very unstable borders, and they have got dispute with each and everyone, most of them.
Correct.
Coming this, I'll just cover it. This impact of climate change. Now, China has got a one of the major issue which is that climate change has resulted into. The temperature rise in China is taking place as a consequence of the this say climate change is about say, 0.24 degrees Celsius per decade, which is higher than the world average. And the reason is they're not too far to see that they have invested heavily into say reality sector as well as manufacturing. So there are a lot of checks and balances against rise of temperature have been removed. The forests have been removed, and a lot of construction activities have come up. Now, CO2 level, China is the biggest emitter of CO2 because substantially their manufacturing, the power generation is based on coal still. Sea rise level is taking place about say 3.5 millimeters per year, which is higher than the world average of 3.2 millimeter per year. It is one statistical say trend suggests that by 2100 if this trend continues, 1 meter of sea will rise, and about 18% of that coastal population, which we talked of in the previous section, will be inundated. And the most of the construction and the business centers of China are in coastal area. So
Correct.
92,000 square kilometers of area would be underwater. 67 million people would be displaced, and this is going to be a very major issue with China. China will be impacted maximum because of climate change, because glaciers are also melting. The 46,000 glaciers, which I said, have reduced quite substantially. So, in fact, this year, for the first time, Yangtze had dry, and the assessment report of IPCS suggests that glaciers will say melt faster. As a consequence, there will be major floods and droughts. So Yangtze this time in upper reaches had a flood. So now it is China has got almost 33 million people which are displaced, and about 22 million of livestock has been displaced. So imagine what kind of problem they have, and the crop pests, which is increasing substantially, and it has already risen by about 8%. But in case if it is not checked by 2100, it is assumed that it is 243%. So it will impact the production of food grains, and as a result, China will be, which already has become in many of those food items a net importer, but this will definitely affect the food security, and not only of theirs, but many countries who depend on China for the supply.
Right, sir. Now, having discussed geography as well as climate change, which both of them are interrelated, sir. Now, it's very the miracle how China came onto the world stage was basically because of almost 2 decades continuous two-digit economic well-being of the country. So GDP remained in 2 digits for almost 2 decades. Now, that actually gave the Chinese the capability to improve their military forces and also start asserting around. As they say, the trade follows the flag, or in this particular case, in case the flag is following the trades. Now, of late, Chinese economy is not doing so well, sir. What is the impact this is going to have, and how this vulnerability is exists in China's?
Actually, China, if you take your mind back to the days of Cold War period, Cold War period, during that time, it was US which supported China basically as a hedge against erstwhile Soviet Union. In 1979, Nixon and Kissinger, they
Correct.
tried, and that is where, say, Ayub Khan and all those things helped them to establish contact with China. Now, post this COVID 19, Wuhan, so to
Virus.
say, and virus. So now this the first impact which is happening of China is that growth has slowed down. Now growth has slowed down and it is projected to become just 4.5%
Correct.
in 2024, whereas India's growth rate is projected to be 6.7%. In fact, in last quarter we have gone over
Better
7%.
than.
That's a separate issue. So one of the major cause of this diminishing returns on it has resulted into whatever the investment on infrastructure is reducing. Now, investment in airport and high-speed rail network is no longer remunerative. So this is one of the major thing is which is causing is slowing down the growth. Now, second is because of this, the debt of China is mounting. Because to sustain high growth, China has heavily borrowed money to finance their investments, and the debt has gone as high as 280% of GDP this year. Now, when it is only 100% in case of India, then they started. IM started raising alarm. But why didn't they raise alarm when it gone to 280%? Is beats our logic. Hmm.
Correct.
And this will definitely impact the financial stability of China. Now, although all the rating agencies have still called China a stable economy and which is investment grade A plus, but Moody has given a warning. They have put
Yes.
on a downgrade warning that अगर तुम सुधरे नहीं तो मतलब अगले साल we will have to reduce your rating. Now, Fitch has also come out. They said that what actually my assessment is कि ये जो रेटिंग एजेंसी इतना नहीं कर रही है इसका एक रीजन है because 40% of the global growth depends on China's growth.
Correct.
Now, in case if you reduce it to say non-investment grade, the 40% of the world's trade would be affected. So that's why Fitch has said that slowing down of China will impact the world as China controls this growth rate. So big exporter of China has started feeling the pinch because Chinese import has reduced by almost 9% this year. China has not imported. So many of those things have started. And the second thing which has started happening as a consequence of this is that flight has started taking place of capital from China. Now, as we say, we know that a lot of it is coming to India, Vietnam, Malaysia, and all these places. Now, in case if we just see that the European Chamber of Commerce has said that 10 out of 10 companies, one company has moved its investment
Yes.
outside China.
Absolutely.
Another 1 in 5 are delaying their considering and shifting. They have started thinking 1 in 5. In aviation and aerospace, 1 in 5 companies have no future plans for investment in China. This will further impact their economy. Now, one thing China thought that they will create, and that is of BRI projects. It was like a Marshall Plan of, say, post World War II. Now that BRI in last 10 years, 150 countries had joined. Now, second thing is over $1 trillion of investment of China has taken place in this.
Correct.
Now, in case if the cash crunch comes with China, then definitely investment in this will reduce. If investment reduces, so both ways it will also impact China as well as impact the, say, countries through which it is going. Pakistan has already started feeling the pinch of CPEC. It
Correct.
is it is not knowing what to do with CPAC. Countries like Italy has already moved out of it. There are a lot of in South Asian countries they have started thinking that moving out of BRI. So it will
Yes.
have definitely a problem. And further to make it worse, we'll talk more about it. That India's proposal of IMEEC, that is India Middle East European Corridor, becoming, and that is why the which is going to threaten BRI substantially. So that will again impact the economy. Last but not the least, US trade restrictions, which
Yes.
during Trump's period commenced and they are going on. 25% of reduction in the export to US has started taking place. Now, US was a major, say, importer of Chinese goods. So now this is happening, which is a very major issue with China. So economy is, as you said, that flag follows this economy. So in this case, their flag will have a problem, which we'll see in subsequent. So there are some issues why economy is also failing. We will
Yeah.
talk. Yeah.
Sir, having seen both of them, now we come on to one of the biggest vulnerability of any country could be the disturbance in the internal cohesion of the countries. And like Chinese, they also said that they have identified. In fact, I was discussing this with one of the native Chinese. He says that whenever China says that we need to do something about a thing, that means there is a serious problem. Otherwise, they don't make a public announcement of that. Now, Chinese have recently the way they are treating Tibet, and they're saying that we are periphery has to be secured and safe. They also say that secured border, strong nation. So this realization has come. Now, core of any country generally remains stable. So generally, it is always the periphery which creates problem for the core. In this case, like you have explained, whether it is Tibet, Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia, Taiwan, South China Sea, all these are not that much of a core. It is all periphery which has been acquired through force, through deceit, through stratagems. So what
We
are the
further add
internal
to Manchuria.
Manchuria, sir, Manchuria, that's right,
Manchuria and
northeast
Yunnan.
Manchurian area. Correct, sir.
Manchuria, Yunnan. We can add
That's
to
right.
that.
So basically Chinese civilization is between Yellow River and Hang Rivers,
Yeah.
and thereafter rest, and even today the heartland is China. So in a way you can say that heartland China is an island surrounded by this periphery which is huge and which is restive. So what are these internal challenges, if you can further elaborate on
Yeah.
this point which I've
One
mentioned?
of the, there's a very interesting part of it. You see, even if you say America is a conglomeration of number of states which have come.
Correct.
Nobody talks of the way California was taken away from, say, Mexico in last century, say 19th century. Now, it was part of Mexico. Alaska was part of Russia. But you ask any Californian or Alaskan today, they swear by, say, star and stripe flags, isn't it?
Correct.
Now, in India also, India is also, it was, say, principalities, say, kingdoms which were there. But post independence, whenever India is threatened, though it's a very, very, say, kind of a noisy democracy, but they all come together to face the challenges. Now,
Correct.
that is where the answer lies. One is the human rights violation of all these. They are treated more like occupied territories.
Yes.
East Turkestan, now Xinjiang, as you said, the kind of thing that they can't practice their religion, they are forced to eat, say, forced exterminations, rape, plunder, say they can't keep their religious entity. Same is in Tibet. In both the
So
places, this
can I just add in what all Xinjiang is happening, sir? Because I have read recently. Sir, ladies in Xinjiang cannot wear a burqa
hijab.
or cover their faces when they are entering any mall. Any during Ramzan, the government servants who are Uyghurs are force fed if they decide not to have or skip their meals as per their religious requirements. And the Friday special prayers, if you are a government official, no time is given to you to offer your prayers. That Juma ki jo prayer hai, there is no
Namaz.
concept of Juma prayer there, sir. Publicly, all the mosques are debarred for anybody to enter. There are only designated mosques where these people can go and pray. So there are tremendous amount of human right violation, people disappearances is there. Younger lot of Uyghurs are just being picked up from their houses and they are being sent to
Indoctrination.
re-education camps.
Yes.
So there are tremendous amount of restrictions that have been put. Unfortunately, our friend across western border don't even talk about it. Whenever any question is asked, they very conveniently evade that. Whereas they are very vocal about incorrect inputs about Kashmir and Palestinians.
Yes. Now,
I thought I'll just add on to this.
Rakesh, you have put it in perspective. You just mirror image is Tibet.
Sir,
Only thing here, the Buddhist, that is, which is they follow the Lama culture. They are not allowed to practice that,
correct.
and that is one of the reasons why Tibet as well as Xinjiang both feel that they are occupied territories.
Correct.
So right now, say Xinjiang has got almost 50% Han population,
Yes.
but their
Demography has been
human rights of Uyghur is, and that's why this ETIM has East Turkestan Islamic movement has become so vocal there. So
correct.
therefore, and China cannot do without Xinjiang for two reasons. One is it has got access to car,
Correct.
and just to go to car, you have to have Xinjiang with you, and that is why in even in Qing dynasty it was taken away in 1876, and that is why our problem also comes that Aksai is used as a transit point to go to that place. So
Absolutely.
Xinjiang they cannot shed. They also feel that in future there is going to be a problem of food drains in China. So they are trying to say divert river waters from Indus and by some report even Brahmaputra, which sounds fantastic, which is impossible kind of a thing. So that water will be so that food grains can be produced there. So now all this thing is basically you take your legacy to the British period, whether railway, whether canal network, they created only to exploit the
Business.
resources.
Absolutely.
Same is Tibet. Tibet they cannot do without resources. So that's another thing. Now, as far as internal challenges are concerned, one is most important thing is shifting demography. Now,
Correct.
aging problem of population, which is resulting into shrinking of the workforce. Now, it is double whammy. That workforce is reducing, so manufacturing would be impacted. And if people are aging, then pension bill, healthcare bill, public finances, they all will increase. So the shifting demography is a major challenge with them. So they have come out with the second is second also I'll cover. Then I'll cover the impact of these things. Gender imbalance. In 79 they came out with this one child norm policy. Now, as a result, what started happening is everyone wanted a male child. Now, as a result, there's a major gender skewness has come in the population. Now, when they realized that birth rate also started falling, so in 2016 they they removed this policy and they said you can have two children.
Correct.
But even that, the birth rate didn't increase. Now in 21, they have come out that you can have three children.
Correct.
But birth rate is still falling because people have got used to that one child. But the fact is, because of this gender skewness, A, the societal problems of, say, rape and other issues, they have started becoming, these kind of crimes have started becoming very problem. And reduced number of girls means birth rate will further reduce.
Imbalance.
So therefore, this imbalance of these two things is a very major issue with China at the moment, and they have to tackle it. Third is environmental concern.
Correct.
Now, China's basically power generation essentially is because of coal, and coal has got its own issues. Now, they have started going for nuclear energy. They have started going for renewables. They have said that also that we'll go green, but it's not happening. Now, as a consequence of this power generation of this kind, air and water pollution has become very, very rampant.
Yes.
The incidence of cancer is quite rampant because of the air pollution. And almost 500 million people in China are today without safe and clean drinking water. Other environmental issues in earlier section I have already covered, but these are the two major issues which need to be taken into account. The fourth issue is because of this global warming, because of the excess emphasis on manufacturing, and with the shrinkage in the acreage, the food production is reduced. So agriculture getting limited means today China is biggest importer of a number of agri products, dairy products, meat products. Though they have staples, that is rice and corn, they are rice and wheat, they are still self-sufficient, but balance of things they are all importing. So food problem is a very major, going to be a major problem. That's why I said that water they are trying to divert to Xinjiang.
Correct.
Now, because of all these things, the restrictions which did and the zero tolerance for COVID, the whatever little was left of China's, this has become very major issue. You know, till about say 2009, about say 90,000 civil unrest were reported. The figure has gone tremendous amount of it because of
Yes.
the human rights violation. Sophie Richardson, who is the China director for Human Rights Watch, she says that people across China are taking extraordinary risk to publicly demonstrate their human
Yes.
rights. And human rights is a very major issue which is becoming.
Yes.
And this unrest, it is say kind of a say tearing at seams. The ethnic divide earlier reduced, the change demography, gender, and all these things are adding to this. Now, because of all these things, there's another thing which is happening is unemployment. Because now, since export is reducing, since it's a manufacturing based industry, so it has risen to about 4.9% unemployment rate. Though it is still lower than the world average of 5.8%, but it's quite substantial. And all these things, incidentally, has got a very major lesson for us also. We have
Yes.
also diverse demography, and we have unemployment issues are there, climate change issues are with us also. In number of places, island territory as well as say say eastern coast of Nagpatnam and all those things are likely to undergo what. So
Correct.
we need to remember this. Now, regional imbalance. This is a major issue with the uh, causing say unrest in China. Rural-urban divide in 2000, say 1978 was about say 2.56% versus 1. That one urban and 2.56% rural. It has now become say 3.33% is to 1. Say more urban and less rural. The income also has also increased quite substantially. In urban areas, it has gone as high as 1,71,000, say 17,175 yuan. Whereas in rural areas, it is 5,153. Very nice map you have shown that all the lighted up on the
Correct.
southern side, and the countryside is quite dark. Guinea's coefficient, which say, measures this disparity, in China's case, about 4.24%. And as per say statistical measurement, anything more than 0.4% is a socially destabilizing. So
Yes.
therefore, China is entering into an area of very major issue. Uh, how long it will be able to hold on to its own, uh, say, repressive measures, one is not very certain.
Sir, with so many vulnerabilities that very briefly you have mentioned, we see why this hegemony, sir, why this China's present dispensation of CCP, why have they taken so many issues in one go? So whether it is India or it is in South China Sea or it's a trade war with the US, I think the uh, time when Dang actually, brought about the economic miracle, he used to always say that hide your capability, bide for times, build your capabilities. But in this case, he's flaunting with his resources all over. He's going in for BRI, and ultimately everything is falling flat. So, and
Two reasons.
diplomatically also, he's getting isolated, sir. Sir, your
Yes,
views on this, sir?
two reasons. One is that uh, somewhere in 10th century, they came out with a concept called Middle Kingdom concept.
Correct.
So that has given them a kind of a intellectual arrogance कि भैया हम तो बीच में हैं, ऊपर भगवान है, नीचे सब all minions are there. So they don't consider these even religious minorities, demographic minorities equal to them. So that is the internal dissension. So you can't hold your flock together. Now, second thing is, if you take your mind back to Mahabharata,
Sir.
Yudhishthir, as he kept losing, he kept on becoming more and more and more, say, kind of a
Yes.
adventurous. पहले उसने कुछ अपना पैसा लगाया, फिर हीरे लगाए, फिर उसने मुकुट लगाया, फिर उसने भाई को लगाया, यहाँ तक कि बीवी को दाव पे लगा दिया.
Correct.
Hoping against hope that it may work, but it didn't work. So
Correct.
China is in that kind of a state that they feel. I mean, nobody can deny that they are still $19 trillion economy.
Yes.
And as I said, that even the world also would not like China to suddenly collapse, because it collapses.
Correct.
That means 40% world would collapse. So
Correct.
therefore, they are trying to be very, very arrogant about their power. Today, you look at it. If we say diplomatic isolation, we talk. Which is that neighbor with whom they have got good relations?
Yeah.
Pakistan, the voices have started appearing. Why Asim Munir is going to
US.
US? Because उनको पता चल गया कि ये कुछ नहीं देने वाले हैं, तो वो अपना गया, उसने कहा कि अब मैं थोड़ी अपनी क्वेश्चन बनाता हूँ. Now, rivalry with China, with US. Now, US has got a very firm policy. That firm policy is that frontier technology they don't share.
Correct.
Consumer technology. So China has gone into consumer technology by reverse engineering. They try to get into some kind of a. So now even microchip, China has got a problem. China
Correct.
cannot produce it. So therefore, this tightening of a screw by now, US have also realized. Now today they have got a more number of ships though, but are they capable to take on US Navy?
Correct.
Be it in South China Sea or Pacific? No way. Similarly, they have got J-10 or something they are calling fifth generation. But Indian is still of what Su-27 only.
Correct, sir.
So, which is again, now they don't have still the gas turbine technology, which they were trying to buy from Ukraine, but now Ukraine itself is in problem. Now, so US is again, okay. Now they tried to improve their relationship with Russia and Iran. Now that has, because these two countries, Russia and Iran, are increasingly becoming pariah countries. Iran is already there, but Russia has also now become imposed those restrictions, imposed on them bans. So China is, because of their equations, and China cannot do without them. So therefore, we will see a little more about, say, Iran. They went for a 1921. They got an agreement, 25 years agreement for 400 billion. They will invest in Iran, but that has non-starter.
Correct.
So Iran and Russia, both have got with China only transactional relations. No love lost, as
Correct.
I can see. Next is with Taiwan. Now that Taiwan will join them is becoming increasingly difficult
Yes.
because US has suddenly started realizing if Taiwan goes, that means Guam is almost
So
mainland
their
China.
entire hard work for so many years of spending money and creating bases all over
Guam,
Asia,
Hawaii, they cannot
Korea,
allow.
correct?
Korea, they cannot allow.
They
So,
cannot.
so Taiwan is a becoming a say kind of a जिसको बोलते हैं ना कि it is गले की फांसी उनका बन गया है चाइना
Correct.
का. They cannot do it, or and
So
West
very
is
proudly, they keep telling their people that this is the 23rd province of China, and this is the unfinished agenda of the revolution of 1949. They
and
said
and
that Taiwan.
and, and Taiwan on the other hand says that तुम मेरी जमीन पे बैठे हुए हो.
Absolutely.
Actually, 1912
Correct.
when King dynasty
Chankas.
went and Sun Yat-sen came, so that Republic
Correct.
of China came. So we are
Correct.
inheritor of that.
And they were the permanent member of UN for many
Yes,
years.
yes, yes. Now, as far as Japan is concerned, and mind you, initially US did go for one China policy, but now they have kind of it is in breach. Taiwan, they have started supporting, they have started giving the even say arms and ammunition also. Same as Tibet is no longer.
Sir, just I'll add, as far as Taiwan is concerned, I had the opportunity to visit there, sir. The biggest interceptor of communication, which is there, this has been presented by the US to Taiwan for two reasons. One is proximity, sir. Secondly, is the complexity of the language, which the Chinese language is there. Now, Taiwanese are like India and Pakistan. We understand each other's psyche very well, sir. We also understand not the
Same people.
literal meaning, but the abstract meaning of the words. Similarly, Taiwanese, there's no better person than Taiwanese to understand the psyche of the Chinese. So that information gathering process, Taiwan, US is using it in a big way. And now, like you've said, they have not done away with their one China policy. And someday, sir, we can discuss this. Is it time for us also to do
Yes.
away with
No,
one China policy, sir?
there are two things which we have already done. A, that when this president of Taiwan was, say, kind of administered oath of office, Meenakshi Lekhi and one more member of the ruling party, they attended that, though online. But that shows that we are trying to build bridges with them. With Tibet, in any case, we have allowed the government in exile to function from our land.
Correct.
So we are also, and last time that stable visa, we have rejected that concept.
Yes.
Now, as far as Japan is concerned, Japan is also shedding its pacifism. And
Yes.
the latest is in 2024, the projected defense budget is to the tune of $52.67 billion.
They don't
Now,
no longer want to remain as a self-defense force.
yes. So earlier it was 1%. Now
Correct.
it is 2% of their GDP, which is quite substantial.
Yes.
Now, with LAC, we have already discussed number of times, but the fact remains that tension is there, and India is. US also realizes that if someone can stand up, because they bamboozle other smaller countries, say Malaysia and all, on this Spratly Island and other things, those certain say scarecrow shoal and all those things with the Philippines. They try to do that, but in India's case, they cannot do it. So India को देख करके the way we responded to Galwan, other countries are also say gathering kind of a courage, and they are also challenging China.
Correct.
China
There's another aspect that I would like to add, because in case China, the US wants to present a two-front, dilemma for China. then only India can do it, because no other country which is sharing borders with China are capable enough to threaten or open up one more front.
This is exactly what it is. And in any case, a kind of a, say, studs of diamond is, we are, say, the pearls of say, string of pearls, they are
Singapore.
creating around us. We are say, why we have with the Mongolia, outer Mongolia, we have
Correct.
friendship. With Russia, we still haven't say, jettisoned Russia,
No,
and Russia
Russia
is
is,
quite grateful to us. Japan, because it is not that even if in there is conflict between India and China, Russia
correct.
is unlikely to be absolutely, say, pro-China.
Yes,
Now, we have already talked about Tibet and all those things. The 14th Dalai Lama is now aging, so
correct.
the problem will become more, because China wants to control the reincarnation. Like in Panchen Lama's case, they have already done it, and which is successor to 14 Dalai Lama, they'll try. So that is going to be a very volatile thing, and that is making Tibet quite volatile. And
Correct.
Xinjiang is suffering with Islamic, we have already said. Now,
Correct.
interesting thing I'll tell you now. BRI, as we have discussed in economic section, that it is becoming.
Correct.
Now, what has happened? China had a foothold in uh, Europe at a place called Trieste in Italy,
Correct.
because Italy was the only country. Now there's
There was no other.
some behind the scene things have happened. So Italy has come out. So BRI
Correct.
does not have a foothold in now. So that isolation from Europe has taken place.
Yes, sir.
Even the Greece, where this Piraeus
Correct.
harbor was support was made by Chinese money, they have decided to give it to India for its
Correct.
IMEC project. So therefore, this this is this is a very BRI on BRI ground also there. So now also the CPEC, because of the say insurgency in Baluchistan, China has started having second thought about CPEC. So
Absolutely,
they
sir.
want to go directly, say, slightly towards going towards, you can say, slightly south and reach Karachi, and that Bandhu and Buddal they have purchased two islands, because they
Correct.
realize that CPC may not work, and that's why they have started trying to build bridges with Afghanistan. But
Yes.
how long? In this case, the good thing is that when India went for this, okay, we'll make a dam at Kunar River.
Yeah, that
They,
was the master strokes.
that's Buster Stone. Now, they have got a great influence in Africa, but by making African Union a part of G20,
G20. Yes.
so substantially we have weaned them away from China. Same as in Indo-Pacific is happening. When
Sir,
Papua New Guinea
talking about
president,
Africa, I'd read a very, sorry, talking about Africa, I read a very interesting thing. He says that Africa, especially northern part of Africa, has become China's Africa. It's a new imperialism. Without actually using that, China has been taking all the resources away from Africa, sir. Now with African Union, your observation is absolutely spot on, sir. Now they will be opening available to African countries also, and there will be reduction in influence of China inside in Africa. So it will no longer remain China's Africa as people have been calling it.
that's it. So now, if you see all these issues which we have discussed so far, if you notice, if you see their linkages are they're quite intertwined with each other.
Correct, sir.
Internal issues, climatic issues, geographical issues, diplomatic issues, economic issues. Now, this is making China quite vulnerable to problems, and since their people do not have any kind of a vent to express their views. Now, what is happening is, as you can see, that number of human rights violations are increasing. So, number of public unrest are becoming. They have to use tanks to,
Yes.
for their own
To
people. So
crush
now,
them.
what can you think of? So Jack Ma is just one day just vanishes.
He's vanished from
Evergrande
the
has
scene,
become
sir.
police surveillance has put Evergrande. So this is the
Yes.
kind of a thing which is happening, which is
Abs-
quite not a good indicator. as I
Absolutely.
can see.
Sir, if you permit, we'll take on the questions because
Yes.
I think we've gone slightly over. First question is from Mr. Shritik, sir. Sir, I know we have all discussed history many times, but how on earth could we not foresee importance of Tibet and just meekly give it up? Also, how could they build G219 and we did not even know?
Uh, it has got certain, but then I'll try to answer it. You
Sir,
know, Kothari Saab, what I just want to tell you that we at the time of independence we were quite naive. I remember there's a book by Durgadas, After Nehru Who, in that
correct.
he mentions a particular portion. There was one gentleman in the Privy Council of Viceroy. His name was Kumar Sir Jagdish Prasad. He mentions that name. In 1948, he wrote a letter to Nehru and said that Tibet, we should not allow it to go out of our, say, influence. But Nehru thought that since both of us are newly emerging republic, so little bit of give and take and all those things. And probably he also realized that that time India was also not very powerful. So unless you join someone, now with the
Correct.
legacy of say colonialism in India, that all these foreign invaders came for trading and then they controlled it. So he was quite, I think, quite apprehensive of any kind of a foreign. So he wanted to establish one-to-one equation with them. So with all these things, we submissively gave away Tibet. Now, even 2000, we did not what uh, say the line with Johnson, Edgar line, or in West or McMahon line, which we had been claiming us, we did not do enough to
Correct.
save that. Now, as G219 is concerned, it is basically G219 is an improvement on what was Western Expressway, which
Western
in
exams.
1957 they have already made it.
Correct.
Now, we did not have any kind of a thing, and we did not have a policy till very recently where we could look into the eyes of Chinese. Politicians can say anything and get away with that, but fact of the matter is that Galwan was a defining moment. When we showed to
Correct.
China, say Nathula was first, where
Yes, 67.
67, we showed them that we can stand up to them. But more importantly, it was Galwan and subsequent our say occupation of Kailash Ridge, which showed China that we can call their bluff. So now much water has run under the bridge. Now what has happened in past, you can't cry on the split milk. But whatever is left, we must save it. And this is where the government has to act tough. So
Absolutely.
that is why, if you notice, there are talks that uniform force which has moved from, say, Kashmir to Ladakh should be brought back, and this incident of Punch is
Yes.
a is an attempt by China, Pakistan, in collaboration with Pakistan. So now that theory is there, but the fact of the matter is that we have to challenge it.
Correct. Sir, like they say that too much of appeasement leads to violence. I think this
Yes,
is what has happened in that case. Moreover, being practical, sir, we were under the impression that Great Himalayan will be a barrier, and probably Chinese may not venture into Tibet because the distances were too much, without realizing that PLA has had the experience of
long
long
march.
march, long march.
Yes,
Plus, our leaders at that time were product of democratic method of achieving independence, whereas the leaders who are across in China were product of war. So they probably understood the strategic importance of Tibet much more than what our leaders at that
yes.
particular time. Probably this I can give this as a
So
reason,
that's
sir.
what I'm saying, that Kumar Sir Jagdish Prasad has
Sir,
given this, but Nehru say brushed him aside, and
sir.
even Sardar Patel in his papers it is mentioned
Yes,
that
yeah, and
he
that
had
iconic
known.
letters.
that he won, but no thought was given to it.
Correct. Sir, we go ahead. There are further questions like this, which people I mean, our audience is discussing. I will take on one more question. Okay, this is Colonel RP's question. I think, sir, very briefly we can touch upon, because we have subsequently, after he asked the question, we covered. China is so much dependent on the world for its economic well-being and for food as well as energy. Then why hegemonic?
You know, the thing is that I'll just give you one example. Say India is called the dispensary of the world,
So,
but the API for this, that is the raw material, comes from China. So
correct.
therefore, like these linkages are there. Now, initially, they have got sufficient stock of coal, and that is why they are. One of the reason is that energy they want from say Middle East and Iran now. Now that is why they. But the problem is with them is how to take it. So that's why
Yes.
they need two three things. A, Guada to be effective. B, they want peace and tranquility in Xinjiang, so that the pipeline from, say, Turkmenistan and Caspian Sea and all those things can come to
Correct.
them. Third, they want access to South China Sea through
Yes.
Malacca, which, as Hu Jintao said, it's a dilemma, because
The land.
India sitting in Great Nicobar controls
Correct.
6 degree channel movement, and 71% of their trade is there.
Yes.
They're now investing into craft customers through the southern portion of Thailand. Now, even if that happens, so only thing that instead of 6 degree, they'll come through 10 degree channel.
Alternate मिल जाएगा, sir.
That problem will continue to remain with them. So
Absolutely.
that energy portion is there. As for food grain, they did not realize. And they said that in the barter system, we will be able to get it.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
they still feel that with $3 trillion of forex, with $19 trillion of economy,
Economy.
they still feel that we can call the shots. So that
Yes.
is why they still have hegemonic is their way of doing things.
We may have.
As we have said, that they have gobbled up Xinjiang, gobbled up
Yes.
Tibet, they gobbled up Yunnan, they gobbled up Hong Kong, they gobbled up
Manchuria.
Manchuria, they gobbled up Inner Mongolia. So it is that the expansionist policy is there. So that they will continue doing it, because that is in their psyche. That middle kingdom concept which I initially said, कि
No.
भैया हम ही लोग तो रूल करने के लिए पैदा हुए हैं.
So there's a very interesting book called When China Rules the World. It is by a person, author is Michael Jacks. He
Okay.
writes in a very interesting this thing. He says Chinese thought themselves Koreans and Japanese. Japanese were also at one time close to thing, because the languages and all are akin. These were the people whom they called themselves civilized, and they said China is the eldest brother, Korea is the middle brother, and Japan is the youngest brother. And in the olden days, China used to take care of these two countries, and rest all the word used for them were barbarians. That
No, that's
any
the
all
middle
other
kingdom concept.
they
I said
use that
millions, when I said barbarians only, they use the word in middle kingdom
they
concept.
use the word barbarians for everybody else other than
Yeah.
themselves. So that's the sense of arrogance they have.
And they forget that Fayan and Hun Sen, they came to
Yes,
India to study.
absolutely. Sir, next question is by JBJP. Ask Bharat, Pakistan, and Bangladesh should fight together against China on waters of Indus, Sutlej, and Brahmaputra, as it will impact future of 1.8 billion people in the subcontinent. Is it possible ever, sir?
I couldn't agree more with you that this is the ideal situation. And especially with Bangladesh, definitely we can think of, because Brahmaputra water and is definitely will make a difference, because the latest is that they are going for a very major, say, run of the river. So they call it run of the river power
Correct.
project at Medog, which is just Pasighat ke 30 kilometer ऊपर है.
Correct.
But then
नाम
they
से
are
बरुआ है.
trying Arunachal only because of this. The Subansari and Lohit river waters.
Correct.
Now, India, this is where smartness of India will come, where we can convince Nepal for Karnali, we can convince Myanmar for Salween and Irrawaddy, we can convince all the countries of Vietnam and all those for Mekong,
Correct.
we can say lower riparians, and then we can convince Pakistan. Now, there number of my writings are there on this subject, where I have argued that it is possible, because then we will have to think the entire South Asia, including Afghanistan, as one monolithic, and then how the waters can be shared can be thought of. I have written, there's an article which has been published which says that how China is trying to steal India's water. So in that they need water, and we can definitely see to it that we can come together, because that's the ideal state. And
Correct.
sooner than later, I think some sane voices in Pakistan are also emerging. Unless they decide to do harakiri, that's their problem. Otherwise, this is something, because Indus is the lifeline of Pakistan.
Correct.
Today, the reduction in water in Indus has resulted into estuary ingressing into Sakar
Correct.
plain, and
Absolutely.
because of that, the food security of Pakistan is impacted. 84 kilometers sea has entered Sindh. So therefore,
Correct.
Pakistan has to sooner or then later realize this thing. I mean, that is what it is.
Sir, there are number of comments by DJ Wale Babu. China has successfully mass-produced 7 nanometer FinFET chip Kiran 9000C. I'll put flash the other one. China successfully demonstrated 5 nanometer capability using DUV equipment only. And now finally he says, I don't understand from where this argument came and circulate in whole Indian media that China does not have chip capability.
You know, say demonstration of technology is
Yes.
one part
And
of it.
mass production.
Mass production is another. There are two things which are required for chip. And if you, I think General Krishnan or someone has,
Yes, he had taken, yes.
he has taken it, and he said that design, software, raw material
Correct.
are three different places, and unfortunately or fortunately, these are all over the world. Say US, Netherlands, China, Korea. Korea is the only probably country which is on a smaller scale. They are
They are.
fully self-sufficient. But China is going to have bigger problem, and the problem which even we are going to face, even if Macron comes to India, that is fresh water availability. Because you
Yes.
need very high quantity of fresh water. Silica you can get, but then do we have adequate water? India also has got less water. So this is chip manufacturing is a major issue with China, and that is why they depend substantially on Taiwan.
Yes.
Otherwise, in last say 79 to now, almost 50 years, they would have had started making major. They would have been major manufacturer of microchip. They are not.
Correct. Sir, I think there are few more questions left, but we have crossed our, and I've already got message. Okay, one more question. I think we can just, it's more of a comment. I believe Japan should consider nullifying that World War II treaty as it seems outdated at this point. This is with reference to what we discussed. He has few more.
He has already started doing that without saying it.
Correct.
Without
He's
saying
already.
it, say it is no longer JDF or Japan Defense Force or Self Defense Force. It is 52 billion is a very major investment भाई. कोई छोटा मोटा investment नहीं है जो अपने defense forces में कर रहा है. And I think they are going in a big way about it.
Sir, thank you very much for information of our audience. Offhand, what all I can remember is Sir mentioned about Dalai Lama and what after Dalai Lama. We had done an episode with Mr. Claude RP, who's an authority on Buddhism, or especially Tibetan Buddhism. Then chip technology that we have spoken about. We had done a episode with General Krishna sir about strategic importance of Xinjiang and Tibet and how they were taken by China. I had covered this a few days back. Please go to our channel. All these episodes are already available. That's why some of you might have felt that we were very brief in this because these were already covered. Sir, thank you very much for very cogently covering all the details in such a short time. We have, by and large, touched upon all the vulnerabilities, sir. Any last comments you would like to make, sir?
No, actually, in China's vulnerability, there are major lessons for us. Some good, some bad. The good lesson is that our democratic system of governance is helping us to remain, say, united. So that notwithstanding some Western media alleging that human rights violation, we have no human rights violation in our case. And that is why even say Kashmir till yesterday, where the say stone pelting was norm, is no longer there.
Correct.
So that is one major lesson for us. Second lesson is that this GDP growth is not a panacea of all problems.
Yes.
More important is uniform, equal growth of every section of society.
Yes.
If you have haves and have-nots,
Sir.
then you have a problem. So that's the second lesson, which so everyone should be equal.
Correct, sir.
The third lesson is that Rome was not built in a day. So
Correct.
even if America, who started as a collaborator with China, suddenly when started feeling that they are going to be competitor of ours, then they have tried to jettison them.
Correct.
So therefore, national interests are important. Friends are not permanent.
Correct.
So therefore, what we have done in ISRO or what we have done in, say, pressurized heavy water technology, we need to invest hell of a lot on this technological innovations ourselves. And we have got intellectual equity and capability that if we do in next about say, I can say about say 15 to 20 years, we will reach.
Correct.
So therefore, when someone like Raghuram Rajan or say P. Janam also say that income per capita should also be counted, not the GDP alone.
Correct.
I think they have got a point, and
They
we
got it.
must understand this point. And technological investment in R&D has to be substantial. Future wars are going to be on water and energy. Energy war already is we had, but future wars are going to be on water. So we need to prepare for, because we have got that water is a major issue with us. So therefore, the storage capacity has to increase. Climate change is going to impact the entire world, and therefore we need to collectively address this issue. Otherwise, the climate do not see sovereignty or boundaries, international boundaries. So that is that. These are the 5 points which I would like our listeners to take home with.
Thank you, sir. Two minor issues, not issues, two minor observations, sir. The painting of Radha Krishna ji, जो आपके पीछे लगी है, our viewers have appreciated it. They're asking, have you bought it from Vrindavan, sir?
No. Somebody presented to me.
And second, I am not able to locate that comment, but one of our audience had said that the luminosity map that we are showing now, it's slightly outdated. 2021, there's a new one which has come. We'll search and definitely we'll use it next time if we need it. Sir, thank you very much for...
Last point. In
Sir.
next about a week's time, whatever we have discussed, we'll reduce it to a paper. I'll reduce it to a paper and upload it on our website so people can have a detailed look on this thing.
In fact, that's what the plan is. Most of the podcasts where we have discussed good points have emerged of the discussion, sir. Most of it, one by one, we have now plans to write it down, reduce it to writing, and put it on our website, sir. And I would also like to, request our viewers, please forward the topics of on which you are interested for us to do our little bit of research or invite a guest. Last time I had requested, but we didn't get adequate response. Please put it in the comment column, because the live chat at times is not available.
One, one, one
We'll be
has
very thankful.
one comment has come. They want Ugyur
Sir,
problem to be addressed.
sir, that will be. We'll do that,
We,
sir. We do.
and
I will look
Afghanistan,
for a good
Pakistan,
speaker.
India. So we will
Yes,
discuss this.
we'll
One of
discuss
these
this.
later podcasts. Yeah.
We will do that, sir. We'll do that, sir.
Okay. Right.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir, and
Thank you.
look forward for more episodes like this. And depending on the comments that we receive, we will address all issues related to China or any other geopolitical concerns which are there, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good night.